Hey, Lake Point, Pastor Michael here with a recap of the first week of our STEP series. As we step into a brand new year, Pastor Zach shared how it's natural for us to think about change. January carries a sense of fresh starts and new possibilities, which is why so many of us make New Year's resolutions. We promise ourselves that this year will be different, that we'll save more money, eat healthier, exercise more, spend less time on our phones, be more patient, or finally break habits we know aren't good for us. What's fascinating is that this instinct towards self-improvement isn't new. Humans have been making promises to change their behavior for thousands of years. Across cultures and centuries, people have sensed that something isn't quite right and have tried to fix it through effort, discipline, and determination. And yet, most of us know how the story goes. We start strong, we clench our fists, we brace ourselves and say, I can do this, but weeks, sometimes days later, we find ourselves slipping back into old patterns. The habit returns, the resolve fades, and the familiar sense of frustration and failure sets in. But the struggle goes far deeper than missed resolutions. It shows up in every area of our life. We often know what the right thing is, and we still don't do it. We want to be patient, loving, generous, kind, faithful, and self-controlled, yet we find ourselves doing the very things we hate. We speak when we promised ourselves we wouldn't, we react instead of respond, we give in to impulses we thought we had under control, and we end up hurting the people we love most. This tension between who we want to be and who we actually are isn't just a modern frustration. The Apostle Paul described it nearly 2,000 years ago in his letter to the church in Rome. He put words to something deeply human when he wrote, I do not understand what I do, for what I want to do, I do not do, but what I hate, I do. Paul wasn't describing a lack of information or good intentions. He was describing the painful reality that desire alone isn't enough. He knew what was right, he wanted what was good, and still, he felt powerless to live it out. As Zach shared, this isn't just a Christian problem, it's a human one. At every level, from small habits to deep relational wounds, we experience a sense of being stuck. And the Bible names the force behind this reality, sin, not just individual bad choices, but a power that affects our desires, our habits, our perspectives, and our will itself. And then into this stuckness, though, Jesus steps onto the scene. Throughout the Gospels, we see Jesus encountering people who are trapped in ways they can't escape on their own. An adulterous woman caught in shame and condemnation, Zacchaeus stuck in greed, Nicodemus trapped in self-righteousness, disciples paralyzed by fear, even Paul himself consumed by anger before encountering Christ. In every case, the people Jesus meets cannot save themselves. Sometimes they don't even realize how trapped they are. And yet when they surrender their plans, their control, and their sense of self-sufficiency, they experience something extraordinary: freedom. Jesus names the problem plainly when he says, everyone who sins is a slave to sin. There's something about sin that is addictive, it's controlling, it's deeply entangling. But Jesus doesn't stop there. Just a few verses later, he offers hope. He says, if the Son sets you free, you will be free indeed. That promise of freedom isn't theoretical, it's something people experience in real, tangible ways, then and now. To illustrate this, Zach shared a modern story of transformation. Bill W., the co-founder of Alcoholics Anonymous. Bill was a man whose life had become completely unraveled by addiction. Alcohol had cost him a career, relationships, reputation, freedom, and self-respect. Doctors told his wife he would either be institutionalized, go insane, or drink himself to death. But when Bill encountered a small group of people who practiced radical honesty, confession, prayer, accountability, and service, practices deeply rooted in Christian discipleship, everything changed. Through surrendering to a greater power than himself, Bill experienced freedom he could never achieve through willpower alone. Out of this movement came the 12 steps, not as rules or moral checklists, but as descriptions of what people actually did when they reached the end of themselves and found new life. These steps weren't created by strategists or clinicians, they emerged organically from broken people desperate for healing. And here's the striking realization: these steps are deeply biblical. Dallas Willard once observed that it's one of history's greatest ironies that the most successful recovery movement in the world is built almost entirely on Christian spiritual practices that churches themselves often neglect. In other words, the church gave the world the 12 steps, and now the church needs to take them back. This is the heart of our Steps series. Not because everyone struggles with addiction in the same way, but because all of us are dealing with areas of our lives that we cannot manage on our own. The 12 Steps offers a concrete, non-legalistic, grace-filled pathway towards transformation that begins exactly where the gospel begins. And that beginning is really step one. We admitted we were powerless over our deepest problems, that our lives had become unmanageable. As Zach shared, this step directly confronts our illusion of control. It acknowledges that there's something in us, what Scripture calls sin, that is cunning, baffling, and powerful. It's not that willpower is useless. Willpower is a gift from God, but it is insufficient to deal with the deepest forces shaping our lives. As long as our ego remains on the throne, as long as we believe we can fix ourselves through effort alone, we are headed towards trouble. This is why the gospel often feels offensive. We want just step one to be try harder. We assume faith is about greater effort, better discipline, and stronger resolve. But the first step of transformation is not action, it's surrender. It's not jumping into the stormy sea of self-improvement and hoping we can swim. It's admitting I can't. This admission runs against everything our culture tells us. The world says, you've got this. Jesus says, apart from me, you can do nothing. And yet, on the other side of that admission is freedom. Many people discover that the most transformative moments in their lives come when they reach the end of themselves. In recovery circles, this is sometimes called the gift of desperation. What feels like failure becomes the doorway to grace. The problem is that many of us have a wimpy step one. We haven't fully felt the pain of our powerlessness, and as long as step one is shallow, everything that follows remains superficial. Scripture consistently shows that transformation begins when people recognize their inadequacy. Isaiah cries out, "Woe to me." Peter begs Jesus to leave him because of his sinfulness. The prodigal son returns home only after hitting rock bottom. No one meets God on the basis of personal adequacy. This is why Zach invited us to do something simple but profound. Name the area we cannot manage. Not fix it, not minimize it, not explain it away. Just name it. I can't manage my thoughts. I can't manage my anger. I can't manage my emotions. I can't manage my impulses. I can't manage my time. I can't manage myself. This act of naming is not meant to shame us. It's meant to free us, because the moment we stop pretending, we create space for God to act. Well, friends, thanks for listening. Enjoy jumping discussion questions. I'll see you next time.